Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope you're doing well. I welcome you to 8th class and congratulate you all on being promoted. See, now that you are in 8th class, you have a big responsibility. It's time to be very serious about your studies, and I'm sure you will take interest and use this prime time to build a castle of knowledge that assists you in lifelong learning. Apart from that, there's a great course waiting for you all to make the most of it. I am your teacher, Aksairam Sakib. I've done MSc from University of Karachi and I've done various courses in English subject. I've work experience of working in SM Public Academy and Sehwa Girls High School, South Korea. Altogether, I have work experience of more than 11 years of teaching English. That was a little introduction about me. I would have loved to know about you people, but since we are not conducting the traditional classroom, so it's hard for me to know all of you, but I would love to know you all once the regular classes start. See, this time I'll be teaching you English literature, and I hope to have a fun-filled class and a class that gives you something to ponder upon even after you turn off your computers. Um, so let me tell you what we are going to study in this lecture. You'll be given a short review of literature course. The name of the book that you're going to study is The Merchant of Venice and Other Stories from Shakespeare's Plays. It's quite an interesting book. It contains 5 plays from Shakespeare that we'll discuss and study during this lecture. See, we are exposing you people to Shakespeare because it's important to study Shakespeare, as studying it enriches reader's mind in many ways. For instance, his work is rich in English language and is a good source of learning the language. There is one, interesting fact about Shakespeare, that he has contributed more than 1,700 new words to the English vocabulary, and that are, still being used. Moreover, Shakespeare addresses various ethical dilemmas. If read with interest, you will become more sensible. As Shakespearean work, it shows the consequences of making bad judgments in life. For example, in the play The Hamlet, Shakespeare addresses the issue of greed for power. In the play The Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare highlights the greed for money. And also, there's a subplot that talks about being obedient to parents, where Portia's father had put forward a condition for her to choose her husband, and she fulfilled it even after her father had died. Um, apart from that, in Macbeth, Shakespeare shows that how people in power find it difficult to balance their private and public lives. And it shows how people in power manipulate masses for selfish interests. His plays also show the kind of relationships people have in the society, and at the same time, uh, you know, his plays contain wit and humor and are very entertaining together with being educative. Therefore, Shakespearean work helps students to have a deeper imagination and also opens up radical thinking. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Shakespeare, because knowing him as a person and as a playwright is crucial to understand his plays and his way of writing. In today's lecture, we will shed some light to Shakespeare and to the book that we are going to study. Alongside this, I'll briefly talk about the main characters in the Merchant of Venice. In the next lecture, we will inshallah study the Merchant of Venice in detail. Okay, so Shakespeare was born on 23rd April 1564. Though the exact date is controversial, but most people believe that he was born on 26th April 1564. in Stratford upon Avon, which is a small town in England. He died on 23rd April. That was his 52nd birthday in 1616. Okay. He came of a respectable family. That means he belonged to a well-to-do family, a rich family. His father was a glove maker and a prominent town official. His father was a town mayor. Okay. Shakespeare left his school at the age of 16 because his family was facing financial crisis, and he got married at the age of 18 to Anne Hathaway, who was 26 years old at that time. Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway, they together bore children. They had three children. First, they had two, you know, they had twins, Hamlet and Judith. Hamlet was a boy, Judith was a girl, and then the, they had Susanna. Susanna was a girl. So altogether, they had a boy and two daughters. Shakespeare is often considered a timeless English poet, um, a playwright. See, the spellings of playwright are different. A playwright is a person who writes plays, and he is also an actor. He has acted out in many of his plays. He played the role of Hamlet's father's ghost in Hamlet. Shakespeare has written um, over 38 plays and 154 sonnets. Sonnet is a poem that comprises of 14 verses, um, and in Urdu it is called rubai. And as I've told you before, he is inventor of many new verses. Let me tell you some. And these are amazement, auspicious, bloody, countless, exposure, generous, hurry, lonely, pious, reliance, suspicious, etc. These were all created by Shakespeare. And they are so widely used, and sometimes they are overused words as well. We use them a lot, and they were all created by Shakespeare. And we don't even know that we are quoting Shakespeare when we use these words. When we use these words, we don't know that they were invented by Shakespeare. And Shakespeare had worked for the famous Globe Theatre, which was burnt down in 1613 and rebuilt in 1614. And 30 years later, it was again destroyed in a fight. Now it has been rebuilt. It was rebuilt again in 1997, about 200 meters from the original site. There is a time in Shakespeare's life which is called dark years. We know very little about Shakespeare's life during two major spans of time, commonly referred to as the lost years. The first one is from 1578 till 1582, and the second one is 1585 till 1592. The first period covers the time after Shakespeare left grammar school until his marriage to Anne Hathaway in November 1582. And the second period covers the 7 years of Shakespeare's life in which he must have been perfecting his dramatic skills and collecting sources for the plots of his plays. It is believed that, it is not believed, but it is a fact that when Shakespeare got married at such a young age, he started facing crisis because he was jobless, he had children, he was just 18 years old, and he was very young. He was, from the childhood, he was very much into writing plays and acting and all that. And there came a time when a group of actors came to Stratford upon Avon to act out some plays, and the group had come from London. And after the group left, Shakespeare disappeared. The you know Shakespeare when the group was in Stratford upon Avon. At that time, Shakespeare used to spend most of his time with the group, and when it left, it is believed that Shakespeare fled with them to London, and there was nothing known about him until after he emerged as a famous writer in London. Nothing is known about Shakespeare during that time period, and no, not even his wife or his children knew anything about him during time span of 1585 till 1592. And after that, he emerged as a writer in London. So it is believed that he must have fled with the group of actors that had come from London. Okay, Shakespeare has added many phrases to English language, such as catch a cold. To catch a cold means to fall sick, to fall in love. To fall in love was also introduced by Shakespeare in in the play The Merchant of Venice. And there is another one, Love is Blind, A Heart of Gold, to break the ice. It's an idiom which means to start conversation. All is well that ends well, and all that glitters is not gold. All that glitters is not gold was also used in for the first time in The Merchant of Venice. And there is another one, Love at First Sight, which was first time used in his play Romeo and Juliet, and it's also very famous. And the plots of his plays are also used in in the plots of many movies. Um, the Lion King has a plot where the small lion takes revenge of father's murder. That is from Hamlet. And in many Indian movies, they have used subplots based on Shakespearean work. And if we talk about compound words, Shakespeare is credited to have created many compound words. And what is a compound word? Compound words are formed when two or more words are joined together to create a new word that has an entirely new meaning. And some of the compound words created by Shakespeare are birthplace, cold-blooded, baseless, black-faced, blood-stained, bedroom. Yes, don't be surprised, but bedroom was also created by Shakespeare. Characterless, cold-hearted, fashionable fortune teller. No, I'll keep telling you more and more about Shakespeare and the work that he has done, time to time during the session. For now, this is enough about Shakespeare, so let's move on to the book. The book that you're going to study is The Merchant of Venice and Other Stories from Shakespeare's Plays. And the plays that we're going to study are The Merchant of Venice, which is a comedy, Macbeth, which is a tragedy, Tempest, which is a comedy again, Hamlet, and King Lear, both of them are tragedies. Please notice that I have written tragedy and comedy in brackets in front of the name of the plays. These words in brackets are showing the genre of the play, and genre is actually the categorization of the play, the type of the play. A comedy is a play which has, something that has more humor to it, and a tragedy is a play that has a sad ending, and usually in which many main characters they die in the end. And in midterm, we will be, you will be taught The Merchant of Venice and Macbeth, and we'll study the Macbeth first. So let's move on to that. The Merchant of Venice is set up in English. That means the story is set up in Italy. That means the story revolves around Italy. Venice is a city in Italy, and there is another town discussed, which is Belmont, that is, also in Italy. But Shakespeare had never been to Italy. He used to listen to the travelers talk about it, and he became so influenced that he used the place in his play. The main characters are Antonio, Shylock, Portia, and Bassanio. And there are other characters which are not discussed a lot, but they play a major role. Those are Nerissa Graciano, Jessica, that is Portia's, sorry, Jessica is Shylock's daughter, and Lorenzo is the man that Jessica marries. Nerissa is Portia's servant and friend, and Graciano is Sanio's friend. Okay, so if we talk about Antonio, then Antonio is the title character. He is an influential, powerful, and well to do nobleman of Venice. He is Venetian. When Antonio is a Venetian man, he is middle-aged man and a merchant by trade. He has his financial interests tied up in overseas shipment. That means he used to, you know, uh, trade between foreign countries. Okay, he is kind, generous, honest, and confident. He is loved and revered by all the Christians who know him, but not by the Shylock, who is a Jew. Jew कहते हैं यहूदी को, and his willingness to die for his best friend is a manifestation of this character. Now comes Shylock, who is the principal antagonist of the play. That means he is the main villain of the play, negative character of the play. He is Jew by religion. He is Yehudi. He's a money lender by profession. Money lender is called Soodkhor in Urdu. He hates Christians because his daughter married one, and he is cruel and cold-hearted man who is hated by all. अब ये करता क्या है? He gives money on high rate of interests, and that's why the people who are in debt to Shylock, they find it very hard for them to repay their debts. So इसी वजह से they hate Shylock. Then comes Bassanio, who is a young Venetian nobleman. Who is a Venetian nobleman? A Venetian is a person who lives in Venice. जैसे a Lahori is a person who lives in Lahore. Similarly, a British is a person who lives in Britain. इसी तरह से a Venetian is a person who lives in Venice. Bassanio and Antonio both are Venetians. ठीक है? He is willing to marry Portia. He is Antonio's best friend, and he's a spendthrift who's a spendthrift. In Urdu, it is called Fazul Kharch, and he wastes all his money in trying to look rich. Then we have Portia, who is rich, beautiful, intelligent heiress of Belmont. She marries Bassanio and saves Antonio's life by disguising herself as a lawyer. You'll study about it in the play. And she is also very obedient to her late father. Kaise? Ye bhi we will study in the play. Okay, if we talk about the theme of the play, so we'll say that the one of the themes is race. That is racism that Shylock showed in the play. He hated Antonio merely because he was Christian. Similarly, his daughter had fled from home and married a Christian, Lorenzo, and that's why Shylock wanted to harm a Christian in revenge. And it's also wealth. It is showed when Shylock wanted to have his money back from Antonio and was not even reluctant to kill Antonio. And it is love. It is showed when Portia disguises herself um, as a lawyer to save Bassanio's friend Antonio for the sake of love. And it is also friendship. And it is showed when Antonio is really true to his friend Bassanio that he is even ready to risk his life for him, okay, and for his happiness. And it is also showed when Antonio, he is willing to pay uh, his a lot of money to Bassanio. Okay, so your task is to label a 300-page copy as your literature copy and do the given assignments in it according to the method explained in the assignment. Everything is explained in the assignment. All you've got to do is to go through it thoroughly. If there is any question or any confusion, you are always welcome to ask me through Google Classroom. And I would really appreciate if you do your work in time and submit your work in time. And I would really want you to learn the spellings of all the main characters by heart. The spellings, the pronunciation should be on your fingertips, and you should not make mistake in that. And I would really want to extend a thank you to you all for being here in this class and listening to me very carefully. Thank you all. This is a goodbye from me. Allah Hafiz.